Hotform versus NeiLyo!
All right, so Hotform versus NeiLyo, our third match of the day, where we have yet another very interesting clash, not only of players and regions, but of classes. My name is Frodan, I'm joined by Crip and Kibler, or as we like to call it on studio, the Cribbler.
Okay.
I don't know.
Which sounds
I'm game.
like that's it sounds a little bit dangerous, like a villain.
It does,
in
yeah.
the Batman.
Yeah, definitely sounds like someone who Batman might be fighting. But
this is the match that I was most excited to see. You know, Hotform's probably one of the closest friends out of the pro players that I have. I just go to dinner with him every now and then, just like to talk. And NeiLyo is the one who has the most impressive track record in the last 2 months. He's only dropped one game out of about almost 20.
That's right.
And it was actually against Kno, which actually just took some games at the tournament here. So he's really doing well. And I mean, saying that doesn't even describe it. Like when you go 15 or 18-1, or however many games he's had in the last 2 months, that's incredible when it comes to Hearthstone.
It's true. A player that only rivals that kind of consistent in recent times is Tice.
That's true.
From Europe, the European champion. So who do you think will win? We'll find out. Make sure to send in your thoughts on social media via Twitter by hashtagging AMWin. This is for Americas if you're rooting for Hotform, who does represent Canada, that maple syrup blood.
Yeah.
And we do have APAC, the Asia Pacific region. Of
Still
course,
undefeated.
NeiLyo from Vietnam. That's right.
They're 3-0, and this might seal the deal if NeiLyo takes it.
yeah, not only is APAC undefeated overall in the tournament so far, the Asian regions as a whole are undefeated today. So far, we've seen both China and the APAC competitors have emerged victorious in their matches today.
For now, we'll see. Game number 1 is about to begin, Hotform versus NeiLyo. Now, this is something that we mentioned very briefly, but there's a lot of different classes represented in this match specifically. 6 different classes for all of the players here. They're very interesting that Hotform also chose to bring Rogue.
Yeah. I was talking to him about it. Are you feeling confident about Rogue? And I said, well, it's hard to say, but Skaka won with it, which is a good point.
Yeah, well, so Hotform
can
said,
win games.
Hotform said, I feel really good that someone else won with Rogue, so that way, if I lose, I'm still justified in feeling it's good. The second thing is Hotform really thought about the strategy. He got to share with me a little bit with he thinks his opponent's going to lead with this deck, and so he's going to start off with Rogue and just go for a big surprise win based off elimination. He says. Matches. I'm going to take advantage of that and get that Rogue out of the way. And it's even better for me if I face against Hunter that's a mid-range. So I think Hotform's going to be really comfortable when he finds out that NeiLyo does seem to be playing that mid-range style.
It's still a really tough game. Mid-range Hunter is one of those decks that gets, even when it has a fair or good or a bad matchup, it's really not that bad.
Probably more of the hybrid style of Hunter with a little bit more aggression rather than just the late game style.
Sure. And because it's slightly more aggressive, that might give Rogue a more problematic time. Argent Horse Rider, for example, much more complicated to do it than the substitute that you often have, which is the Wolf Rider.
And one of the big difficulties that Rogue can have in this matchup is the fact that its hero power is making that weapon, which it uses its life pool as a resource in order to deal with the opponent's minions. And the Hunter with the hero power and weapons like Eagle Horn Bow, charge minions like Argent Horse Rider can put a lot of pressure on that resource.
Wow, well, Hotform looks like he might have a dead turn here. The only way he can really do anything is either backstab Eviscerate or prep Eviscerate, and it just seems like such a waste where next turn you'd want to play Violet Teacher and prep Eviscerate, maybe even backstab then.
Yeah, interestingly, Hotform probably would have been much happier if that had been a Huffer that had come out of the Animal Companion.
That's right.
The Misha with its 4 health is much more difficult for him to deal with.
And Leok would have just done less face damage to him. So it's really
the best result for NeiLyo.
This is the absolute best result in this situation.
Well, it depends on who you are. If you're NeiLyo, you're just the best. If Hotform, it's certainly the worst. And he is going to take his time, although I think there is merit to saying, even though we know and Hotform most likely knows there's not real much of a play, you can kind of make it look like it's a tougher decision to put some psychology, mind games in your
So Hotform does choose to just pass. And I Concentration and Eviscerate.
Well, Hotform's going to have an insane
Yeah,
turn
this
here.
hand is, this turn is now great. He has Violent Teacher, Prep,
crazy. Look at
Eviscerate,
that.
Backstab, kill all your stuff, make 3 guys.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no Unleash the Hounds to punish this.
Right. Not only that, but even if his opponent did have Unleash the Hounds, he saw Coin being utilized. Therefore, even if he had Unleash the Hounds, he can't pair it with Knife Juggler and make a really devastating comeback. He also got some good information. He sees Argent Horse Rider, so he already immediately understands what kind of deck this is.
Oh, man.
And now NeiLyo's the one who doesn't have much of a turn, but having a turn where you don't do much of anything when your opponent has 6 power and minions on the board is a lot scarier.
Right. I mean, the weapon is usually an excellent development of excellent use of mana, but it deals with nothing. And are you really going to commit to a face game against the Rogue in this situation?
With this type of hand as well, which is naturally going to be curving, and it doesn't look like you can kill Violet Teacher very efficiently. Asking to get punished later on by Sap or other cards like that.
All right, well, the Web Spinner here kind of dictates that he's just going to play Loatheb next turn no matter what, as there's some reason to not play the Web Spinner. If you want to save Loatheb for a more key point in the game, you'd save Web Spinner to play alongside the Houndmaster on 5 men.
It's true. I do think that Loatheb, though, is basically his ticket to try to get another one of those turn 3s, right? Like, maybe his hand is just like all spells and he can't play anything.
But we know that Hotform has some good action here. He does play the Azure Drake and is able to trade in there. It looks like he's preserving his weapon and a little bit of face damage. Oh!
It's a Hungry Crab.
But it is a 1-mana minion, which does give Houndmaster easy slots.
That's true.
It is also a beast, so it's a cheap beast that can work with either the Houndmaster or potentially a kill command later on.
Yeah, 3-4 is quite fair against this board.
I still think that Loatheb might be the better option, just because you don't want to fall too far behind where Rogue can have sticky minions, and he's doing damage to you, threatening to oil, right? So that's the biggest problem.
That Eviscerate draw, and the fact that you can have a good turn again this turn with the Shredder and weapon,
right?
I think it might just be a time to go face here.
Yeah, I agree with you here. Getting a lot of damage in. Hotform's at 22 as well. He's definitely in a very safe spot life-wise. Looks like he does choose to get 1 point of damage on that. That does open the Loatheb up to either dying if it attacks into one of Hotform's minions, or possibly dying to Eviscerate next turn if he doesn't trade. It also means that NeiLyo will get fewer minions off of Unleash the Hounds if he were to play it.
I think Unleash the Hounds would have already been played already, which is why that kind of seems unusual to me. I guess he just doesn't want to commit to Phantom Knives or Blade 3 next turn.
Yeah, so another way that it can backfire is if Loatheb ends up surviving as a 5-1 by trading into these 4 attack minions, and then you play a Houndmaster or something to defend it, and then it picks up a really good trade again. But what it is interesting is that Hotform looks like he's just trying to set up for lethal as best as he can and position himself to be in a position to do that. So I really like that play. Now NeiLyo has to weigh in, like, is it time for me to swing for the fences? You know, go for, you know, a Pilot Shredder kill, or can I still really win this game if I trade and play it slow?
He does decide to take out the Azure Drake, which in this matchup is actually kind of scary in general, not only because it's a larger minion, but also it does buff the Rogue's spell damage, which, as we see in Hotform's hand, is made up of both Eviscerate and Phantom Knives, and the Blink Flurry. So a lot of possible scary things that come out of that.
Oh, is that it?
Ooh, that may actually just end the game right here.
That...
Yeah, that is.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
I think
it.
that's actually able to just Blade Flurry, go to the face, and Hotform is going to be taking game 1 with his Rogue deck.
And that's a really big game. I mean, we talked about how... I mean, I think Rogue has a okay matchup here. It's just... We compared it to against Warrior, right?
Right.
So that disaster scenario didn't happen. But the fact that the Rogue got a win rather than a loss is a really big deal, because it's one of those classes that, you know, maybe it's not at the bottom, but it's certainly not at the top.
Well, everything went exactly according to plan for Hotform. He was really hoping for either that mid-range Hunter or the Paladin to come out. And that's why he snuck that Rogue in, because he feels like you know, classes like Druid, for example, which is decent against everything, maybe even good, he has always a chance to fall back to it. But Rogue, the longer the series goes, it might get cornered by something like Warrior.
Yeah, we were having a discussion about the sort of overall pick theory with Hotform last night, and he was saying that he really just wanted to ensure that he was able to get his Rogue against one of the decks that was not Warrior, because he felt his Rogue pretty much can't beat a control Warrior deck, which is what he expected NeiLyo to bring.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious. I think we should play the Paladin guessing game. We have Mysterious Challenger versus, let's just call it the Murloc Knight Paladin, right?
It's none of your business, man. None of your business.
Okay.
Well played, kid, bro. Well played. Well, we'll find out right after this. We had an opportunity to sit down with Hotform and chat with his friendliness with players. He talks to us a lot, but he also talks to some of his peers. Check it out.
The friendliness of the other players, I think, would be the most surprising part. The other players, although we're opponents, it feels really like comrades. When you're out there, you know, you're just hanging out, waiting for things to happen, you're discussing strategies, and you're a little guarded about your own tech choices and those kinds of things, but when you're just there hanging out, it feels really like you're with a bunch of friends. So I think that was surprising to me. I thought some people would be more tense about it, but it's a really great feeling the way it worked out.
Positivity is the name of the game for Hotform as he is getting ready to go into game number 2 with a 1-0 lead. So you're feeling the Paladin here from NeiLyo. And does it really make a difference either way against either of these classes for Hotform?
I know that Hotform was saying that he feels like his Mage deck has a good shot against either Paladin or against Warrior, but is disadvantaged against Hunter. So it's in this position, he best get wins with both of his decks. NeiLyo doesn't, I don't think, have a particular deck that seems stronger against the overall lineup. So I don't see a particular leaning either way.
Yeah, I mean, overall, we just look at those classes. They're all different. They all look like just very tough matchups. It doesn't seem too one-sided, except for perhaps the Rogue and the Warrior, which we've conveniently avoided.
All right, well, we're going to go with the Druid versus the Paladin. And we do have cards like Haunted Creeper and Coghammer, which kind of
like it might indeed be the Mysterious Challenger.
Those are cards you can see in really any version of Paladin, I think.
I think the Haunted Creeper,
Creeper
is closer to the more aggressive
That's
side.
true. Creeper is typically seen more in the aggressive decks than the control decks, though I think that Creeper is actually a reasonable answer to just other aggressive decks from a control Paladin deck.
Yes.
There aren't all that many great options, the 2-mana slot for a Paladin deck in general.
Did NeiLyo actually keep Consecration?
No, he had the Coghammer and the Haunted Creeper and the mini-bot.
And now he apparently only gets 2 cards.
Oh. Oh, so that's how good
we've determined
is, right?
that the Paladin is such a strong class that rather than starting with 3 cards, they start with 2 cards.
Well, maybe it's just the traditional mulligan rules, where if you throw back some cards, you start with 1 less.
And then he's going to mulligan again.
And then you start with 1 card.
Just going to have this mini-bot sitting in his hand.
He's the lone survivor.
It could go all the way.
I mean, mini-bots, what does it not trade up with according to its mana range? It's pretty much everything.
Oh, it's pretty great.
I think Flame Juggler is the only enemy.
Well, I guess so.
We have found a secret. We have found a secret, so I believe the...
Oh, this could just be like Sunwalker Tyrion Paladin. You know?
Right.
It could be.
From 2 years ago.
It could be. That's true.
With Scarlet Crusaders and whatnot.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, we did see one player running Blood Knight. That was a really interesting thing back in the day. This is one of the biggest problems for Secrets Paladin. The Darnassus Aspirant will go unchecked. And that's going to allow Hotform some really big opportunities.
Yeah.
Though NeiLyo does have the muster for battle, so he can contest it. The problem is that I believe his secret, his secret
double
is
redemption. That is a bit
that's
weird.
Pretty unusual. But his secret is redemption, so he's actually it's a little bit awkward if he does end up getting, say, his opponent hero powering his face or swiping his face. But Hotform does choose to use the swipe on the mini-bot, fearing perhaps Avenge, which is one of the really big threats if he did play that early. So
yes, it's a very common setup if you have Muster for Battle to play Avenge in the very beginning stages of the game. And now Avenge will be the case. And the second redemption, like you said, is slightly unusual, but it's starting to come back again because, you know, the idea that redemption keeps something sticky on the board. So if you have Blessing of Kings in your deck, you have an opportunity to play more board-centric approaches. Again, the whole point is that you have board for this kind of thing.
Well, Hotform is still playing some minions that are somewhat difficult to deal with. And NeiLyo just keeps drawing cards that are more and more awkward. I mean, even though he has the Mysterious Challenger for next turn,
he's actually used so many of his secrets.
Yeah, he's drawn both Redemptions and both Avenges, right?
Right.
So it's just not going to pull either of those. He's pulling 3 secrets only. And That's almost fair.
Ooh, NeiLyo is not happy here. That Armor Smith is one of the very few 4 health minions for 2 mana that he wouldn't be able to actually trade into with his board.
You're such a troll, Crib. The thing secrets is that the effect is compounded. Like, it's supposed to thin your deck, so that way you get closer to your actual threats like Dr. Boom or, you know, Blessing of Kings, Tyrion, etc. So instead you might draw some of these complicated secrets, and then your hand gets more fuller too. Like, you can't play Avenge number 2, so if he draws Divine Favors, 1 less card.
One of the interesting things here, so few
That might
decks
get Redemption again,
yeah,
by the way.
so few decks play 2 copies of Redemption. Round, well, there potentially Noble Sacrifice.
Right.
Potentially he's afraid of a possible Repentance, so maybe he wants to play a Keeper of the Grove or an Aspirant this turn before.
Mentioned how they've played against each other so often. I feel like Mysterious Challenger deck is something that you would test thoroughly if you'd want. She's hesitating after that attack.
There is a sequence where he can attack into this 1/1, and then it comes back to Redemption. He can swipe the remainder or use Keeper. Either way, it's Challenger.
Did he get the swipe?
This is
It looks like he
he's
held
gonna
back
use
the
Keeper.
Keeper.
I must safeguard the light.
Okay.
That mini bot's been through a lot.
So we haven't seen a competitive spirit from him yet. We have also not seen a Noble Sacrifice from him yet.
True.
We've seen 2 copies of Redemption. We also have not seen Repentance yet. So there's one of those secrets he doesn't have.
Feels like Repentance might be it. Like, Redemption and Repentance are both secrets that often do absolutely nothing.
So here, if Hotform does choose to play that Ancient,
Right. Repentance because he has 2 Redemptions, and if you play 2 Redemptions, it leans more towards having like 8 secrets as opposed to like 5, the bare minimum. So that way you can interact with your secrets with 2 challenges.
Hotform's last turn, where he did choose to play that Keeper ultimately, rather than play Swipe. And he was afraid of the possible Avenge here, or the Repentance as well.
He could have cleared if there was nothing there. Okay.
Right, so now he knows that this is almost certainly either Competitive Spirit or Repentance. And Competitive Spirit,
Big of a hand either, so a card like Divine Favor might not really see that much value.
NeiLyo's Mysterious Challenger that he drew later on, less powerful because he'd already drawn some of these secrets, but now he's drawing some of those weak secrets after the fact, and
still in a okay spot because the 2 secrets that he has, Noble Sacrifice and Avenge, have a pretty big like nuisance for Hotform because he still doesn't know if maybe NeiLyo was holding on
him to take off that Mysterious Challenger. That will trigger the Avenge, and then he can silence the Sludge Belcher.
Such value here.
I must
It's amazing.
Ooh,
My goodness, he was not anticipating Noble Sacrifice. That's pretty significant.
Yeah, that actually, he could have kept either attacked his hero first or from there.
Well, the lone juggler is not going to do that much work here.
No, Hotform still has the Ancient of War left in his hand, and NeiLyo really needs to find something powerful like Tyrion or Dr. Boom.
And more importantly, I feel like because he's running such a weird assortment of secrets, there's a decent chance, which sets up so many bad draws.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Hotform only has basically do nothing. Paladin Shredder, that's not big enough to contest that Druid.
Not bad, though.
It's okay.
It's a good start.
Does find a Savage
Roar
Roar.
would do it. He's already played one, though, so it's a one-outer.
Well, he's got...
Yeah, he really wants to deny the Divine Favor. I really get the feeling from some of the hesitation, some of the thoughts, some of the spontaneous plays that Hotform is making that he really knows exactly what NeiLyo is pepped in and playing.
And
Taunted
that's
Creeper is not going to do it.
Oh, actually, he can get one taunt off of the
Yeah, or a
Shredder,
heal. I believe Vitality Totem is enough.
but that is to take game number 2. Very convincing win.
Victory.
That's not what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to lose the Mysterious Challenger. You're supposed to go 3-0, followed by
Yeah, the Asia Pacific player is supposed to win.
Yeah.
What is this game?
He's breaking all the trends. And
Our
he
narratives, our narrative.
Well, the one narrative that's consistent is Rogue is winning.
That is true. That is true. And now Hotform just has to pick up a win with his Mage deck. And this is a deck that Hotform is very confident in. He played it at the Americas Championship and has a lot of experience with it.
Yeah, I did talk to him about it. I mentioned how, not a lot of people are playing Tempo Mage, and, what do you think about that? Why are you bringing it to the tournament? And he's like, well, I keep beating people with it, so it's just going to come back.
I mean, we saw Jab have a lot of success with it earlier today as well. It's a very strong deck.
We're going to take a quick break and toss over to a segment with NeiLyo 3 and see what Hotform can continue to do.
At first, my family didn't believe that my trip was paid by Blizzard. Like, they didn't believe that. They believed that I was just lying, to Blizzard is what I want to do and what I'm doing here at BlizzCon. I'm not interested in small tournament. I want to win big tournaments like BlizzCon.
Big Fish is all that matters. Win the BlizzCon and you'll be remembered.
It's just a plan that's not easy to execute.
Yeah, big tournaments.
We did get information that Hotform is playing the Tempo Mage style, so it is definitely a tricky deck to navigate because that deck sometimes kills faster than Hunter. It's like you play out the
fun.
All right, well, it is going to be a control-style warrior from NeiLyo. Often what happens in this matchup is if the mage doesn't get a very good opener, the warrior is out of reach for the entire rest of the game. So the most important mage is just going to be in a dominating position for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I do like the choice from NeiLyo as well to bring Warrior. In the instance where it is Freeze Mage, he would be a heavy favorite.
There have been a lot of freeze mages.
Yeah, we have seen, I believe, 3 separate freeze mages in this tournament. This is
I would say maybe 4 with NeiRyo's.
NeiRyo, we haven't seen.
NeiRyo purple.
Oh, we did see
NeiRyo
freeze.
purple and Tice, right?
Seemed like a particularly good hand against the control warrior here, as the
great against something like, say, Paladin, Muster for Battle, especially with something like Flame Wake.
Right, like you don't want to give Warrior cards because Warrior with cards like Bash now kind of rotated in. It gives you the ability to piece together damage very effectively. Sometimes Warrior's in a really tough position of like, do I Shield Slam this 4 health minion versus save it for the bigger threats which inevitably
first few turns. If you can stabilize it, just the card is almost
to get the game to a spot where a card like Justicar is unlikely to matter. It wants to really start to close out the game before the Warrior gets to the point where it can already winning going to be a losing proposition.
Well, this gives that unless he's willing to go off curve.
This also does of a mirror image, so it's possible that he's actually, or rather mirror entity.
He's probably expecting to draw through a heavy amount of his deck before he...
And it looks, NeiLyo's testing for it, and no, it's not there.
Wow.
So
unless, of course... Oh, no, it can't, because we know it is mirror entity. Right. Okay, I was thinking it may have been like an effigy if he had 2 effigies.
Sure.
No, that cannot be the case, because he
Sets up better plays for the following turns, because you can guarantee champion value the following turns in turn 7, for example. Yeah.
But he has 10 armor in his hand along with the Justicar, along with a brawl. Things go really wrong. So he has all the tools he needs to connect to be a mirror entity. So I think the Shield Maiden or even perhaps the Justicar. The Justicar isn't great, but you can play it with an Execute.
That was a great draw.
yeah, that went very well for NeiLyo there, picking up the cheap minion that allows him to play around his opponent's mirror entity more effectively.
But now Hotform can legitimately shield slam off of the Nexus Champion's rod.
In the turns shortly after.
Sure. All right, so here.
No, it looks like Sarai's not coming
Changed
out.
his mind. Doesn't want to.
It's just not a good enough trade on the board.
Sure.
Ooh, that Archmage Antonitis is probably though, which can potentially set up additional spells for that Archmage later on.
So Warrior's gonna dip down to
But incrementally every single turn, especially against the class that's already hard.
get ahead of the weapon attack, but even then you still have ways to gain armor and shield slam.
Welcome to the grand tournament.
So now Hotform really knows that he is for Hotform right now.
Well, he's got
What would be hilarious? Here? Seal, 2 damage. Mighty Bolt, that's good enough. Oh, he could have played. I mean, often people play these decks out so many times, and then when like a new element comes in, often they just saving Sorcerer Apprentice for a Flamewaker turn or a turn of Antonitis as well.
no respect for the champions rod. He ends up not shield slamming it.
That's a pretty good pickup there from Hotform.
And you have to be more aggressive in general.
With a good bomb here. For the future. Okay. Well, that just means you don't play Geddon this turn, I guess.
I lose from this position. Yeah, that's just like primary concern of.
It's
I'm
really
very
Using he does use the shield slam.
right.
Surprised to see the Harrison over the Shield Maiden.
I think on the board here, the board's empty, and it might bait out like Flame. Just fantastic against Warrior,
Especially with Antonitis.
especially with Antonitis.
Yeah. Awkward against Brawl.
Once upon a time, NeiLyo was 12 points away from dying. Now he has more armor than you start off with.
I wonder if he'll go with the Mana Worm. Oh, but really, that just means there's a higher chance of him straight up winning the game.
It's true. Who is the strongest of them all? Because the Brawl is almost certainly to come out here.
Who wins in a fight?
Absolutely.
Do you even attack a 0-2?
I don't think so.
Absolutely
You want to make them the most likely things to win. You don't want to let your opponent have any chance of Antonitis coming out ahead, and it will.
So I guess the second best option for NeiLyo, because he'd rather have his Shield Maiden survive, but he's got.
Ooh, there's another mirror image.
The funny thing about this game is the Warriors at 30 health, but not only that, they just higher than that.
36 health.
It's an unusual spot.
And there still is, I believe, one unstable portal in Hotform's deck, maybe. So that
If he
it
were
could,
to come out.
I think Dr. Boom is a fairly likely candidate to be in any major
Oh yeah,
deck.
absolutely. But I'm saying that NeiLyo has an answer to that already. So
Right, exactly.
it's going to be a tough game for Hotform to find a way back into.
Absolutely.
You know your opponent has another Fireball too, so even if you play Baron Geddon, it just gets Fireballed. So Death's Bite is your most powerful weapon, but do you
You can't really tempo BGH for the exact reasons that you mentioned, Killer.
Right. It is Dr. Boom.
Wow! Wait, how'd you know? Wait, is there some like weird thing that you just know when it's drawn? Okay. You saw the boom bots?
I've got the beast.
No. Gotcha. Well, Big Game Hunter getting stabbed in the back here.
Yeah. He's been betrayed by his friend.
Almost out of cards.
Hotform
Yeah,
is almost out of cards.
This is just going to be a fatigue game. Hotform does not have the tools to actually close this game. Is that if that last card is Unstable Portal, he can get something, but
No, but if NeiLyo gets a bad draw, he's frozen forever. Alistraza has to run into 2 Mirror Tables.
What is Hotform's last card? Did he use 2 Unstable
I
Portals?
believe
I
the
misremember.
last card is Unstable Portal, assuming he's running 2 copies.
What would be the greatest thing ever to get?
Pretty
This is
effective
actually
too.
pretty big.
It's 6 damage versus 4 health gain per turn. Yeah, it can work.
Nope, not
No,
anymore.
No,
Execute.
certainly not. Now you just
You
actually
literally can't win.
Yeah.
The 4 armor hero power is good enough to beat the rest of Hot. All right. Well, Hotform is not of a comeback. We have seen some very, very close matches today, and it is something that you can't expect of such a high caliber tournament.
Yeah, Warrior doing what Warrior does best, bringing it to fatigue and fighting the attrition battle.
Yeah, just literally beat every card in Hotform's deck.
Yeah.
Think about while the Warrior, you know, it might be the best against the Mage. But it's probably pretty close to some of the other decks. But really, if you're going to win, you're going to see every single card, as you mentioned.
It's true.
Which makes it particularly strong against decks like Paladin that are weapon-based.
Better against Hunter, against a lot of those smaller, like 1 health creatures, or even
Really good against Face Hunter, I believe.
Yes.
If you get like a good opener, the Face Hunter just has no chance because you remove their minions so efficiently with often residual effects of creatures. Like the disposed of, and it does seem like a tougher matchup. With NeiLyo playing more of a hybrid, it's kind of hard to say which way it goes.
I mean, the Paladin deck, too, has lots of very small minions that are very vulnerable to Flamewaker. Poorly in that matchup. So.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys convinced me. So with that, we're going to go into game number 4 in just a second. Before we do that, though, we had an opportunity to sit down with Hotform and just get to know him a little bit better. So enjoy this little segment.
So there are things that a law school application, and I did pretty well on that, but I've decided to take a year in between. That feels like a really big commitment in my life, and this is a lot of fun. I've enjoyed gaming my entire life, so I want to try this out, experience the world a bit first before I make that big of a decision. I do have plans for the money if I win, not all of it of course, but I want to take a vacation for sure. I think vacation I'm really interested right now is going to Australia. I could just picture like renting a Jeep and kind of driving through the outback with some of my friends. I think that would be such a great experience, so I would love to use the money towards that type of vacation.
Yeah, so it sounds really great. We're just kind of chuckling that he said he wanted to visit Australia, and that's where Raynad will be joining us later in BlizzCon. The main event is actually chosen. Like, oh, he can go out packing with Raynad.
Go hang out.
They can rent some mopeds and go in the Australian desert.
Absolutely.
And be killed by one of the many dangerous and deadly creatures in Australia.
It actually, I mean, it is actually a
Oh, yeah.
very serious case. We're not really joking half the time.
Though I have a number of Australian friends who are like, yeah, what's you know the most prominent thing about Australia? It's like, the number of things here that can just kill you at any moment.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have survived.
They
so,
live fast and furious down there. And so do we, especially against a class like Hunter, which can kill you very rapidly, as well as Tempo Mage. And starting off on the coin for Hotform is really big. This Tempo Mage benefits a huge amount off that coin, as well as the extra card.
Let's talk about this mirror image. It's a card that it's not unseen, but it is rare in Tempo Mage. And I also think it's much more rare that you have 2 of them. It seems like a card that it's obviously not very good against small minions. It's not very good if you're losing. It doesn't particularly make much of a difference against like a warrior who armors up. Or like the mid-range type of classes.
I actually think Mirror Image is at its best against Warrior, but only when you have it in the early turns of the game, because it's so good against their weapons. We saw last game, Hotform didn't draw his Mirror Image until very late in the game, when the game was pretty much out of reach at that point already. Yeah. It wasn't really able to have much of an impact. They just got brawled away. But if you're able to get that Mirror Image down early on to protect something like a Mana Worm or a Sorcerer's Apprentice from your opponent's weapons, it can be very, very impactful.
All right, well, NeiLyo opens up the game with his web spinner. It is going to be met with the Mana Worm, and actually no answer right away means that Hotform is going to start winning. And the aspect of just winning, even by the smallest margin, makes it so the Mage just really starts to steamroll out of control.
Firebat told me that Mana Worm the difference between Tempo Mage starting with Mana Worm and not starting Mana Worm is actually literally winning and losing. He's like willing to say like 7. Where it's so important to start with Mana Worm because everything that you have thereafter synergizes with it.
What I'm really curious here is if he uses Frostbolt versus Flame Cannon.
It looks like he chooses to go with the Frostbolt.
Yes.
That does make coming off an animal.
Yeah.
Game.
Well, not
or
King
say
Mukla.
a King Mukla.
it's I think Flame Cannon and Frostbolt kind of do.
Though, look at that. He has to play the Mukla.
Well, he does have Explosive Trap, which could potentially answer that Mana Worm right away.
Oh boy.
But it's definitely a scary spot to be in playing Mukla and giving your opponent bananas when they are a spell-based synergy. But he does choose to go with the Explosive Trap, though. Banana up that Mana Worm. And if he did play Mukla, it would have been of the spells that Serena's are.
I don't think you really want to see that second high main right now.
Yeah, and not only that, but the Mukla will survive on Hotform's side and then trade into whatever you play the following turn.
Protecting that 4/3 from being removed by that bow.
It also plays around the Lothep, which NeiLyo ended up actually having. Of elimination here.
Right. And he's going to lose a chunk of his health as well. Hotform very well might just ice.
Yeah. On the verge of going to the elimination. Allow him to. Ooh,
wow, that
not
sucks.
what he's looking for. We see a Checkle from Hotform there.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I think one of the best
If
things
everything goes
possible would have
wrong,
been?
if
I think
everything goes
Frost
wrong.
Shock was like the best spell in the game.
Frost Shock.
You got me there.
That Argent Horse Rider may very well be an excellent draw here. He can potentially.
Right.
Yeah, that's also
Horse
possible.
Rider into the
Right.
3/2.
Yeah,
just
he
to
can
save
use
some
0-2
HP.
there, save a little bit of life, send the Horse Rider into the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then clear off quite a bit of Hotform's board.
Yeah. However,